Hello, this is GeoTechland, and today I'll be talking about Game of Thrones and what I think and how I think Game of Thrones should have ended. Now, I normally do videos about free and open source technology and gaming and tech, but today I decided to do a bonus Game of Thrones video here. And so I, like many others, have not been satisfied with the last season of Game of Thrones. Decided to share my thoughts on what would have been a more, I guess you could say, logical conclusion. When I say logical, I don't mean that it has to be cheesy or kind of give the audience what they want. It could be twists as well, but like overall there has to be some consistency here. This goes without saying though, if you're not caught up to episode 5 of season 8, I would recommend you not watch because there are many spoilers here, and even spoilers for the next episode, I guess, somewhat, maybe to a degree. Starting from when Cersei lied about sending the Lannister army, I thought that was okay, because even though Jon, Dany, and Cersei tried sort of coming together and battling the Night King together, it's not easy, right? If you're trying to team up with their enemy, it won't be the easiest thing. So the fact that they didn't agree, but then Cersei said she would send her army, but then she lied about it, makes perfect sense, I think. So then when the Night King does come to Winterfell, or the White Walkers come to Winterfell, they should have fought and there should have been a nice battle, but I expected it to be more like a skirmish, so Jon and Dany crew to be overwhelmed and then they all have to retreat. You know, these White Walkers, they're pretty strong, so I didn't expect them to be defeated in one location or in one battle, since they are and they were made to be the biggest threat in Westeros. So after this, they determined to go to King's Landing. You know, Cersei's got Lannister army, the Golden Company, Euron's Iron Fleet. This is probably like the best place to be. Maybe some of the citizens of Winterfell, maybe some of them go somewhere else. Maybe the majority of them march down to King's Landing. Now, when they do arrive, Cersei has a choice to either leave the gates closed and just kind of let Jon and Dany's armies die and the people die. But again, just because Cersei is so against them doesn't mean she has to be 100% against them. You know, when she sees the army of the dead come to her doorstep, I think that would be finally enough to want to cooperate with Jon and Dany. So I say she opens the gates, lets the people of Winterfell in, and she lets out her armies, the Golden Company, Lannister army, Euron's army, and decides, all right, we'll fight together, because the dead is at my door. I know that now the pressure is on her to cooperate if she wants to live. Alright, so they all team up to fight the Night King and his army. Cersei, I think, would have been best if she was killed by a White Walker, or maybe even the Night King himself, because she's the one that did not even want to cooperate. In a sense, Jon and Dany are like the good characters, and Cersei, could be considered the villain, because when a disaster is imminent, she still didn't want to cooperate, because she hates her enemy that much, and that is almost inhumane. And I left these little things here, like maybe she uses wildfire here. It would have been nice, maybe using that to fight the White Walkers. And I was thinking, maybe this would be a good time for Clegane Bowl, for the Cleganes to fight, because again, they hate each other. So in the middle of the apocalypse, it would make sense to me that they actually fight here as well. And because Jon is made to be the hero, he's half Stark, half Targaryen, I actually did want to see a duel with him versus the Night King. He doesn't have to be the one to kill him, and that could be sort of like the symbolic message here. Like, he fights him, people think he's going to be the one to defeat him, but then here comes Arya with her abilities, and she's the one that ultimately kills him. That would have been a bit more interesting. And again, it would have not been as boring if Jon just kills the Night King. Dany is mortally wounded during the battle. Cersei shuts the door on her, let's say, while Dany is trying to escape from White Walkers. Maybe she's wounded here, and I think this would be an interesting way and a good way for her to die, because remember, even though Cersei did decide to team up with them, the part of her still wants Dany dead, and Cersei letting Dany die like that, it would make perfect sense. So like I said, teaming up with your enemies is not easy, and this situation is a realistic scenario playing out, or would have been a good scenario playing out. So she lets the army in because she wants to live, but then she wouldn't save Dany because she wants her to die. But yeah, this is the fate I expected for Dany. I didn't buy into her going mad and, you know, like the Mad Queen and burning King's Landing. I actually noticed, though, there's people though that say, hey, there was clues given throughout that she would turn out like this, and actually the way I interpreted that was bad writing, because one of my criticisms of Dany's character, at times they would make her to seem like this good and just hero, freer of the oppressed, but at times they would make her this sort of evil person, and some people may interpret that as leaving clues that she will be the Mad Queen, but I just took it as poor character or poor writing, really. I just thought her character was inconsistent. Dany dies in Jon's arms. I just put that there because, you know, that's a little bit what we'd expect. The Night King is defeated. Now, Jon still doesn't want the Iron Throne because it's just not his thing, but maybe not Tyrion, but just people decide to vote or elect Jon as the king, and not because he's half Targaryen and half Stark, but because he's the most qualified. Got people together, you know, like wildlings and people in Winterfell, so he's the most qualified. And this part, it was inspired a bit because of what supposedly the last episode will be. So this is kind of, if there's going to be some vote, then it makes sense that Jon's voted in because he's the most qualified, and so we kind of get what we want, right? People want to see Jon or even Dany, but Jon because he's the rightful heir to be the king, and because he's our hero and he's a good guy. But Jon doesn't want it, so the realistic way he gets there is that he gets elected there, and, you know, he accepts, and then maybe he's like, hey, I am the most qualified. But that is pretty much it. What do you guys think? Is this more or less what you guys expected? Because I know this is what I expected, or something like this. If you enjoyed this video, probably won't make many more of these, but check out my other videos on my channel, and I will see you guys next time.